Hey guys, what's happening? Brad, you wanna welcome everybody today?
I think you just did it.
No, I didn't. That's just a small piece of the intro.
I was trying to figure out what I'd say because you always say like, "Hey guys." I didn't know if maybe I should do like, "Howdy."
No.
No.
It was the
No.
way that you
What?
embodied that right now. It just did not work. It's
Okay.
howdy. It's like
I didn't have an accent, I don't think.
I think you did.
No.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's more like, hey guys.
Yeah. I get made fun of at church for this still because I did a promo and it was like,
Yeah, I know.
it was like that. Yeah. And
And
I still,
it makes me laugh every time.
I know.
So we're gonna talk today.
Yeah.
Well, really, I'm gonna have you do a lot of the talking today.
I'm a little worried right now.
Why?
I was trying to remember note-wise which one we're starting with and how am I doing all the talking.
Sometimes you don't have to say the quiet things out loud.
It's fine.
So, no, we did an episode on motherhood way back in May.
Mother's Day.
Yeah, and it was right around then. And it was, for me, it was really powerful to just talk about being a mom and motherhood and what that's done in my life. And we had talked about doing an episode on being a father and fatherhood, but we went on summer break before Father's Day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew we left something on the table.
I just, like, you don't have to act equally surprised as the audience when I say things. So anyways, it's just been on my mind and heart lately. I think just, number one, I think the season of parenting we're in has us reflecting a lot on motherhood and fatherhood and, just that role in our life. But also just because of, the impact that has on not only our life, but our kids' life. So I had seen a post talking about fatherhood. And I was like, we got to talk about this because it's just so huge. And if you don't have kids yet, please don't tune out because, one day you may have kids or you may be a father figure to someone, or you may have to work through some of the issues that you have with your own father.
Yeah.
So tune in for sure, even if you're not a father and even if you don't have kids. But okay, so I always like to throw questions at you when it comes to topics like this because I just always enjoy that for some reason. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what do you feel like as a father is a lesson, like one of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
The biggest lesson I learned is to apologize. Yeah. Apologize, be quick to apologize, So
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest lesson.
Out of all the things, it's quick to apologize.
Yeah, I guess I don't know all the things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what exactly.
No, I mean, I think that's
but
a huge part of being a parent is recognizing our own failings and having to say, I'm sorry, and showing our kids what that looks like.
Yeah, because I've done it a few times and, we're all human, right? And I think it's important to know, like, it's okay to mess up and then,
Own
come
that.
back and own it. Yeah, exactly.
So when I was reading this post, there's so many statistics that I think are just almost shocking when it comes to the role of a father in the house, both when they're there and present and the benefits of that, and when they're absent and the disadvantage that brings to someone in a home. And, one of the things that I thought was so powerful that this article talked about is God's design for parents and what a mom's role is, and then even what a dad's role is in things. And I loved the way they put it because it talks about how kids need for both safety, but then also to stretch. And how for a mom, most times like kids look to their mom as like this anchor of safety. But when it comes to a father shows them how to stretch, like what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that has played out with you and your kids?
I mean, I'd like to think so. I don't know if yes, I would say it's played out in my kids, but I don't know if I've deliberately or intentionally ever done that, if that makes sense. Like, I've never thought about it.
Right. You never are like, oh, I'm trying to stretch you towards strength.
No.
But I think that's what's so cool about it is that there's this aspect of you that is wired differently in a situation than when I'm involved in it, right? Like many times I saw you wrestle around with the kids, right? Many times just, literally to the point of where I'm just like, oh my Lord, there's like three little boys over here, and Aubrey would get involved too, our oldest, our daughter. But there's so much learning that's happening in those spaces, and how we as wives, as women, have to be careful to allow the stretching of strength in our kids. Because I think if we're in the exact same situation, you and I are going to respond totally different to our kids. Yeah. And I think they need both of those things.
Yeah, I think that so boys specifically, you're being a father, you need to raise, and this might be like, people might turn off switch the episode. I'm not trying to be, boys need to be raised to be dangerous. Like just, and this is not a violent thing. This isn't, I'm not like, waving this violence flag and this is what they need to do, but they just need to be raised, dangerous, right? Like let them, I was rough with the boys, not in a mean way at all, but just rough with them growing up, playing with them, throwing them around, just making them do the hard things, making them not quit the hard things when they're doing the hard things, So, I mean, I think of like one time our middle child was climbing up the side of it's a mountain, but it wasn't like we were crawling up the mountain. It was a trail going up the mountain, but he's having a very hard time. And he was really little. It was
a steep incline.
Yeah, very. And he was young and he was having a hard time. And I didn't say he couldn't stop and rest, but we weren't going back down.
Yeah.
Like we were coming up to the top, right? And in him, I saw this switch that happened when he did that. There was a lot of things that he probably fought through. There was a lot of realizations he had, and this is at a young age. Mm-hmm. But I think that changed. There was a piece of him that changed that day for the good. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't screaming and yelling at him or anything like that. It was just like, no, we're going up this. There's no time like that. I'm not telling you have to make it up this, steep incline in 5 minutes or anything like that.
Yeah, and I'm not yelling in your face. No, I'm not, nothing.
I was just like, you need to keep moving, or we stop and take a rest, but we're not going down. Mm-hmm. Like we
will go forward.
Yeah. So I taught them, that I wanted them to break through those mental struggles and things that they'd have, when things get hard. But I want them to also, and that's building this foundation of strength. And when I say dangerous, I do mean physical, but I also mean spiritually dangerous. Like I need these boys to be more than just your average boy. Like that's really what it boils down to. I need them to be different. Mm-hmm. And they need to be dangerous. Like they need both physically and spiritually. Like they need to have that in them, for physical protection of people that can't do that. Mm-hmm. Right. This isn't about going out and picking fights or anything like that. I've never picked a fight before.
Well, I think there's a distinct difference between danger and violence.
Yeah. And there absolutely is. Yes. But I need them to do that. And then also spiritually, I need them to just be this dangerous, figure for God. Yeah. Right. Like we're not, Jesus wasn't a hippie. You know, he was a man's man. Like he was a dangerous man. That's why people hunted him down to kill him. Like that is what was going on. He was dangerous politically. He was dangerous physically. He was dangerous spiritually. Like he was a dangerous man.
Yeah.
And this isn't to take, like, he was all love. Like this isn't, he was walking around like a dictator or anything like that. It's just, he's dangerous. He was flipping everything upside down.
Shifting culture.
Knew, and that's what needs to happen in our lives today. It should have never stopped, right? Like as a Christian, you should always be flipping the culture. It should always be countercultural to what's going on around you. And if you just take a step back, that's true, right? So I need my boys to step up to be that, right? And it's awesome to see that by the grace of God that they're doing this. You know, they're, you know, like we've talked about, our one son is still, he's about to come home, but he's still out there doing his thing and you know, with missions. And then our youngest is here and his heart is in, I don't know if it's ministry, but his heart is chasing after God.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Whatever that looks like. Right. But they are both, and physically at their age levels, like they are dangerous. They know how to defend themselves. They know how to even, you know, step up and feel that urgency of, I need to do something because no one's doing something. You know, and I'll talk about my daughter here in a second, but I was just talking to our pastor at church, and he had brought up, we were just passing each other, like it was just one of those nights and for youth, and he was there and we were talking, and he was like, "Did you hear about that? You know, the horrific shooting in Minnesota?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, man, that's crazy." And we're kind of talking about that. And I was like, you know, it's the old saying, right? Like evil's going to continue to do evil. Evil doesn't stop evil. Like only good men stop evil, right? Like that's it. Like there's no, like it's not going to take care of itself, right? Evil in the world runs rampant. And unless good men do things, it's just going to continue to run rampant, right? And so that's why I want to bring my boys up with that mindset, spiritually and physically. This is a holistic mindset. I'm not training them to like be vigilantes and do, you know, these are like holistic mindsets where this is what they need to be to, you know, to advance the kingdom on earth, to walk this.
And like God has placed specific roles in them, you know, and I think even talking to our boys about them being protectors, and not just like physically protect, but like you're supposed to protect hearts, right? Like all of those things that, you know, ultimately, and I mean, even with the boys, so often we're like, do you want to get married one day? Like, then this is how you talk this out, right? Do you want this in your life? Then this is the way that you need to communicate, or this is the way that you need to be, you know, behave. And I've seen you model that with the boys over and over again. And I think, you know, it's interesting because we have been in this position of volunteering for youth for a couple of years at our church. And so we've also had this unique vantage point of seeing so many young people that are without a father that is going after Jesus, or without a father at all. And even the impact that I see on them watching you worship, or watching, you know, you've spoken many times at youth, and when you get emotional about the things of Christ, what that does for those kids. I mean, I think you probably don't realize that impact, but I'm looking around at faces and I'm listening afterwards. And I think they're looking at you as this, you know, strong man, right? And then you get up there, and when it comes to the things of God, it is like emotional.
Yeah.
It's like for them, they get a glimpse, I think, of what manhood is, right? Which is, yes, it's strength, but it's really like recognizing too the desperate need for Jesus. And it has such a huge impact.
And even with my daughter, I mean, father-daughter, it's such a, it's crazy.
Whole different dynamic.
It really is. Because she, like, not probably still a little bit, but she for sure had me wrapped around her little finger. You know, from the time she was just tiny,
yeah,
and like babbling away, trying to talk to you. But even with her, I think that I could have honestly, like and you're probably going to say something else, but I feel like I could have done better. I feel like the boys, it's easy with boys in a certain level, you know?
Well, you probably feel like that just because you're a man.
You know, I could, you know, even now, like I'll mess with the boys all the time, and I joke around with my daughter too, but this is different. It's a different dynamic. Mm-hmm. It really is. And speaking of dangerous, like I want her to be dangerous.
Yeah,
for sure. This isn't, you know, I specifically talk about the boys because I do believe there is a role that God has a man to do versus a woman.
Yeah.
Not that they're lesser or anything like that, but there is a role. And so that's what I've, you know, studied, I've looked at, I've felt like all these things where there's a specific role for my boys when they get older, as they are now and as they get older, like this is what they need to do. But I want my daughter to be dangerous, absolutely. And, you know, physically and spiritually, mm-hmm. for sure. But I feel like I definitely, we had to grow together with parenting with that, me and her, mm-hmm. right? Like, I think that there was definitely times I was very, you know, rough around the edges. And then there was probably times I was too soft, mm-hmm. you know, like there's this, again, it's just this weird dynamic because the like commercials and things you see or those like dumb videos that try to make you cry, where they show like this little girl doing things and all of a sudden it's like this grown adult, you know, and the dad's watching. It's true. Like
does it make you cry a little?
Yeah, I get very emotional when I see it. Stupid. Like whoever made those things was so stupid. Like I get it, you know. But I see this little tiny girl, you know, and I mean she's a grown woman.
Yeah, who's going to have a little girl?
Yeah, she's going to have a little girl, you know, and so it's just hard. That side of fatherhood with a daughter specifically, I think it's fun. I loved it. Loved every minute of it. She's who I learned to say sorry to. That's how I learned to apologize quickly. Because as a parent, but for sure as a father, I think you can crush your kids so quickly and not even realize it. And then you've changed the trajectory of their life, like just by a word. I mean, I've seen it almost happen. I've seen it almost happen to our boy, you know, not specifically with me, but just how words like weigh on him, and will affect him. And now I see what he's done, you know, by God's grace.
Yeah,
right?
to counter those lies,
you know, but why, you know, you should be so thoughtful as a husband and a father of the words you use. You should be slow to speak, really. And you need to think about what you're about to say, because with my daughter specifically, we had a rough patch, man. It was a really rough patch where it was almost like, you know, I don't think she was, but I was definitely walking on eggshells sometimes. I don't feel like she was. I feel like she was like stomping around, like trying to find the eggshells, right? But
she's going to listen to this episode one day and have a good laugh.
Yeah. But I do feel that's how it was. And, you know, we've talked about it past episode, but at one point I started seeing it. And then that's when God told me to stop talking. But I started seeing where there's going to be a break, and we're losing her, quote unquote, you know. Yeah. And listen, as your kids get older, you know, air quote, lose them, right? That's what they're for, right? Like you're there to train them up and to let them leave, you know, and start their own.
That is humbling to say. It's true.
That's your purpose as a parent, right? You're trying to raise this kid as best you can through Christ, and to have them leave and be on their own and start their own family or whatever they may do, but to be able to be independent in the sense of they're not leaning on you, you know, for everything, right? Like I want our kids to call us if they need something.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's always going to be on the table, but we should equip them enough to leave and be successful. You know, that's what you're there for, right? And so you do lose your kids. But when I meant this, I meant that there was going to be a fracture,
right?
Where like she was going to be gone, you know? And currently, I mean, she is gone, but there's no fracture.
Yeah.
But and so, you know, that's why I say my biggest learning thing out of all the fatherhood advice you can get and do this and do that and let them climb that playground and jump out, you know, like all these things, it is really just to apologize quickly. Mm-hmm. You know, be quick to apologize. I think that's well,
and I saw you too, you know, really do some things with our daughter, you know, to recognize the areas that you wanted to step in and foster, right? Because I think in reality, you and our daughter are the most alike, right? And so that aspect,
our youngest is a mirror of you.
Yeah.
And our middle
claims he's the best of both of us.
I think our middle is, I think he does have the best of both of us, actually, when I look at him. But yeah, my daughter for sure. That's a little me.
Yeah. And so I think anytime we contend almost with a version of ourselves, which so many times we see things in our kids that, you know, we get frustrated by, and it is this element of things that we ourselves embody. Yeah. But that you really did take the time for years to take your Saturday mornings and go on a date with her. And I really think in so many ways that fostered relationship in a way that you didn't even realize. Mm-hmm. And I know now that she's married and she's in, you know, not only another culture in another country, but another culture in a family. So often you don't pay attention to the culture in your own family until you're exposed to someone else's, you know? And so her getting a chance to really see, like, really, she was raised with an abnormal culture, you know, of parents who love each other, who fight for each other, who have done our best to live out authentic faith. And her getting a chance to be away too has shown her how abnormal that culture is and how much she wants that for her own family. And that is like one of the greatest things that you can hope for, I think, as a parent, is that your kids can look back at their family culture and want to emulate it, not want to run from it. You know, and so I think recognizing that aspect of fatherhood and the investment that you know, really walked out even during difficulty is the same thing that your daughter wants to embody in her own family and fostering in the relationship with her husband. And I know we'll continue to do that with her own kids, you know, so that's a really beautiful testament to persevering through because there's just seasons of being a parent that are just hard. Yeah. They're just hard, and they're different kinds of hard.
They are. I mean, I think that's, you know, boy to girl, boys, I've had very, you know, pointed conversations with the boys, very, you know, like I can't even think of anything specific right now, but you could be a little more rough. You know, that's really what it comes down to. Like, I'm going to tell you the things you need to hear. And the problem I think we have a lot of right now, and when I mean rough, there's love with everything.
You're just being direct.
This has anything to do with like, I need to raise this, you know, these stupid, like, what is it? The alpha male thing. You know, it's so ridiculous. Like, that's not at all. I want to raise a boy that's Christ-like, that's chasing after God, period. Right? I don't label him however, but being, more direct with them. And I think that's the problem with a lot of what's happening now, is that there were so many parents that were not doing that specifically for boys. That weren't doing that. And now you see, like, I mean, it's just embarrassing, some of the stuff things you see. It really, and I don't mean teenagers. I mean grown adults.
Yeah, who cannot handle any kind of opposition.
Can't handle any kind of conflict. They can't handle any kind of different thinking.
Yeah,
they can't handle, if someone cuts them off, they can't handle that. Like they're emotionally unstable.
Yeah, unhealthy coping mechanisms for everything. It's horrible. Yeah,
I mean, that's why you see these grown men like punching a window, you know, because someone cut them off in traffic and they're screaming. And you even see it out of older men. I won't even just get like younger men, right? You see like these old men doing ridiculous things or causing issues where it's not an issue. It just, it's bizarre to me.
Right.
But also I'd like to look at how they were raised. And now our kids have their own will, but there's inherently something, right? That the way you raise your kids, my boys can handle emotions. They're stable. They
can handle critique.
They can handle critique. They can handle people that think differently than them.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. And so they're not going to pop off and be stupid because of anything. It could be a big thing. They're not going to do that because they're like, that's why I wanted to raise them the way I raised them. I want them to be able to withstand these things. And really the biggest thing I push is their relationship with Christ. Like this isn't something that the way my boys are isn't something the way that I did specifically. This is just pushing that relationship with Christ, their relationship with Christ.
Well, and really, I mean, I think it's displaying your own relationship with Christ that is the biggest indicator of whether your kids actually live out that relationship with Christ. Yeah. I mean, they saw you in the morning coming downstairs when you're here. They saw you doing devotions, or they knew that was what you're doing every day, right? And you're going to church, and when you're over there, and who you are at home does not change. That's so huge, right? Like if you have this, like, I'm going to go to church and on Sunday, I'm going to represent this to everyone,
this mask,
and go home and there's something else. It's like,
last night we were out with some friends of ours at this amazing taco place, and they're a couple behind us, and you saw them.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There was like a mom, a dad, and a little kid. And a little kid, probably, 6? Maybe.
Probably.
Somewhere in there, right? We're sitting outside, later dinner, and the little kid's on a tablet the whole time, right? And then at one point, I literally, you catch, because we're in conversation.
Right.
You just kind of catch, I'm seeing behind him. And I see the dad, and his phone he's not just on his phone, it's like up in front between his wife and him. And he's like looking at something, not taking a picture of his wife.
Right.
He's like looking at something. She's looking down on her phone. And it's just this time of like, this is what we do.
Connected
right?
Disconnection.
But then that bothers me, right? But we're all guilty of that on some level, right? That bothers me. But then there was some, like, we're next to the street. So there's like some car drove weird or something like that. And I heard him, like, he said, like, like, oh, wow. Like, he's looking over, he's like, oh, man. And he kind of makes like a, like, whoa, did you just see that? But then he dropped like 4 F-bombs, and he just started not cussing at the person. He was just explaining what happened, but he can't use anything else but cuss words, right? And so he's just cussing over and over while he's holding his 6-year-old, and him and his wife are talking. And I'm like, man, I gotta already know how that kid's gonna be. Like, already, I've seen it. I've seen fathers that have anger issues, and I've seen the kids are the same exact way. And being a dad is hard, but there are things that are unacceptable. Like being a dad is not easy, but for sure, right? Just like being a mother, being a parent is not easy, but there are things that are just unacceptable. And now that's the culture, and it's fine. And that's why I say, if you're a Christ follower, right? If you're a disciple of Jesus, like you should feel weird because you're living countercultural to everything that's going on around you.
Yeah.
You're swimming upstream. Like it's so evident, you know?
Yeah, I know even recently after church on Sunday, we had gone to a grocery store and we saw the same thing. There was a gentleman in front of us and he had a large amount of alcohol he was purchasing, and the gentleman in front of him turns back and says, "Now that's what I'm talking about. That's how you have a good weekend."
Blah, blah,
and then
yeah.
F-bomb
Beep,
and
beep,
his two little boys are right there.
Yeah. And they're dressed just like him.
Grieved me. It grieved me because those boys want to be like their dad.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting at. Not that they were dressed weird, but they looked just like their dad.
Yeah.
They walked like him. They talk like him for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess like lesson 2 is that your kids are always watching you.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't scare you.
That's a good way to put it.
It really shouldn't, because you can know you're being watched and you can act differently. Like you can be the perfect version of yourself. That's only going to last so long.
For sure.
You know, that's why the course that we put on for our team is so arduous and long, because we know you could put a face on here, but you're not going to be able to do that here. Yep. Right. And we're always watching. And it's the same with your kids. They're always watching. They're always hearing. They're always looking.
They reflect you.
Yeah, they do.
I was thinking about this. Like, we're called to be image bearers of our Father. Right. Like, ultimately, if we're saying, I follow Christ, we should bear his image, right? Everywhere that we go, there's this element of, you should know by how I talk, by how I act and behave and all the things, that I'm an image bearer of Christ. None of us are going to do that perfectly, but you see that play out in the actual physical relationship between father and child, right? And both negative and positive. And that's not to sit there and go like, oh, okay, well, you had a bad father and you have an excuse to continue to behave this way for the rest of your life. Because you have to own yourself at some point, and you can't be a victim. But it is a very humbling responsibility that you have as a father, because, and a mother, obviously, but your kids, they are image bearers of what you put before them.
It's a weight that you should be happy to be carrying.
That's a good way to put it.
It really is. You know, I was just thinking of that scripture. Man, I've lost it right now, but it's where and our church did a whole series on it, which I thought was amazing, but it's like to lay down every sin and weight, right? You know which one I'm talking about? I would be looking it up. I have no device to be able to look up anything, because we record on our phones and it's just the whole thing. But and I'm not talking about that weight, because that's talking about laying down that weight. But the distinction between the two is that there's some good things that you're carrying that you need to lay down so you can run this race for God, right? This is not one of those things. This is one of those things, as being a father, that you should be honored to pick up this weight of fatherhood and own it and carry it. And here's the kicker. You get stronger, but it never gets lighter. Right?
Yeah.
because I've never regretted being a father, of course, but I know without doubt that I could have held that weight better.
I think every parent in every capacity feels that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have to have that Heavenly Father so closely in front of our kids, because it shows that despite all of our imperfections, we have a perfect Father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It is a weight though. But you should be ecstatic to be carrying it. But understanding that I know I've grown as a dad. Absolutely. I'm not, I'm not going to like, oh, I don't know how to, nothing like that. Like, I know I've grown as a father.
Yeah.
I know I'm better than when they were little. Like, I know that. And my relationship with Christ is better, than when they were little. Like, there's a lot of things that I've grown, into and with, but the weight of these 3 kids it's never gotten lighter. And to understand that concept, if you lift weights or if you're carrying something every day, when you first start doing it, it's heavy. And then as you get stronger, it gets lighter and easier. And then you just add more weight if you want to keep getting stronger, right? And that's not the case for this. This is heavy when you pick it up and you become stronger, but it stays in that heaviness because it is, think about what your kids are. Think about what a father is. Like, you're watching, you're raising, you're modeling things for these little beings that Christ has put in your life. And the weight of that should be heavy.
Absolutely.
You have this responsibility to impart, everything on them, right? Knowledge transfer, all these things to them. But your biggest responsibility isn't that they can change a flat tire. Like, your biggest responsibility is, are they going to chase after Christ? Like, that really is. And man, it's been hitting me, not with the kids, just in general, right? I don't know why this has been hitting me lately, but it was just like the whole, funny conversations we had. But I'm like, just thinking of, we're on this planet for just, a fraction, a sliver of what we're going to be, right? Eternity. You're either going to be one place or another. But everyone that's walking the earth right now will always be. That is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Right? And I know we can't understand that. I know, these are things that we just can't comprehend.
Brad's been a ponderer of eternity lately.
we're bound by time and space, so I get that. I fully understand that. And that's why I try to like shove those pondering thoughts down deep and get them out of my head. But on the flip side of that, there should be this urgency, for people you love. And, we're specifically talking about fatherhood, so for your kids, but you should feel this urgency of, man, you're either going to be without God in hell or with God for eternity. Yeah. You're going to be on this earth.
He's not going to force you to be with him.
What? Maybe, a good time, maybe 90s, right? So, average 80s, maybe. That's how long you're going to be on earth. You're going to have an eternity of what? Like, so the most important thing, yes, my kids can change a tire. My kids can, shoot. My kids can fight. My kids can do all these things that I want them to do, right? That I want them to be able to do. Yeah. Right. And I'm talking about all my kids. These aren't just the boys. All my kids can do this. But also my biggest thing that I've imparted on them, I hope, and I'm seeing it play out, is their specific relationship with Christ. I never wanted them to ride our coattails
Yeah.
on this journey. I wanted them to have their own. And I am floored by what I'm hearing come out of where our son is right now. And we've shared some stories, and we've heard more. And it's just this moving of Christ in other countries that is you see it here in little pockets, but it's just this amazing. And God's using him to do those things. And so it's just like, wow, at 18, I wasn't doing that.
Not even thinking about
I wasn't thinking
that.
anything
Yeah.
about that at all. And this young man, he has this heart, and he's like, yes, healing someone, that is, I love when Christ does that, when God does that. But really the most important thing is, where are they going for eternity? Like, did they get saved? Are they finding salvation? Like, and that's the mindset, right? Like, that really is. And so, just those are the things to impart on your kids. Like, all of it's important, but man, how are you living your life for Christ?
Yeah.
Like, really. And as a father, I want to hear whatever excuse you have. You could DM it to me and I'll answer back. It's ridiculous, some of the excuses I hear. It really is. And it's like, you can excuse everything and make it seem like you're a victim and you're not able to do anything.
And even if you didn't have that example of a father, you have the example of a perfect father in Scripture, and the resources that are available, which, by the way, the verse that you were talking about is Hebrews 12:1.
Yep.
It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us.
Yeah, and I know that didn't have anything to do really with what I was talking about, but
No,
we
it
are
does.
supposed to lay down these things. But the one thing you can't lay down, that you should never lay down, is this: God's giving you this responsibility. And that's one, being a husband, and two, being a father.
Yeah.
Like, if you are those things, that is a weight that you should not be letting go of. Like, that is a weight that's going to be with you for the rest of your life, and it should be the best thing that you have, one of the best weights you have on you, right? Is that and being a husband. Like, those aren't, you're not supposed to lay those down, right? I lay my flesh down, right? Daily. I have to do that daily. Yes, that is, I'm not getting into this, that I'm strong enough to carry these weights and this is what's, nothing like that. This is all because of Christ, but I have to lay my flesh down daily for sure, but I am not going to lay down the responsibilities God has given me. Like, yes, they're his, but he's imparted these on me, and I can't just flippantly be there. Like, I have to step up. If you're a father that hasn't done these things, just start doing them. Don't say like, okay, well, Monday I'll start. This isn't a diet that you've never started. This isn't a workout program you've never started. Like, when you decided to have kids and this little thing came in your life, at that moment, that is when this switch should have turned on in you to foster this, this relationship and build it and grow and impart that walk with Christ and impart all these other knowledge, like just doing the parent things.
Yeah. And that inspiration to strive for more because you want to be able to give more, I mean, I think I've seen you do that so well. Like, I think, if I really let myself go down the pondering places that you have too, I think, and it will make me emotional thinking about it, but, there was a really strong chance that our kids would not grow up with you.
No.
And so it's so cool for me to see how God redeemed that and how my kids have gotten a chance to really solidify who they are and their faith and redemption and all of those things because you stayed, right? Because we walked that out, because God is a redeemer of the most broken places. And so it's such a beautiful reminder that, you know, whatever our own human failings are, like God is so much bigger than that. And that is why we want so much for people to recognize that their individual walk with Christ and pointing their kids towards that authentic faith is the best gift that you can give your kids. I mean, it's just a really, really beautiful thing. And I wanted to make sure that I did read a couple of statistics about how important that you as a dad, and, you know, if you're a wife or mom listening to this, that you can impart to your husband is when dad goes to church, 55 to 68% of kids stay in church as adults. When only mom goes, it drops to about 15%.
Wow.
Which is like that in and of itself, that statistic right there shows how much a dad living out faith matters in their kid's life. It's so huge. Kids are twice as likely to pray regularly if their dad prays with them. It's just crazy. 39% more likely to get A's in school when dad is involved. 63% of youth suicides come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway kids come from father-absent homes. Daughters with loving, involved dads are 7 times less likely to get pregnant as teens. Sons with present dads are more likely to delay sexual activity and avoid substance abuse. I mean, like, being a father is so much more about you being present than you being a provider. Yeah. And I do think that's something that can get really twisted in, you know, what people think. Like, well, I provided monetarily. But it's like your presence that's there, that example that's being set, right? I am going to pray with you. We're going to church. This is who we are, right? Those mantras that are established as the leader of the home, yeah. Right? When you are in that God-given role and design and you're doing that, where it's like, this is who we are. This is what we do. And that has an impact as our kids grow up. And I'm so thankful that our kids have gotten a chance to see that in their own lives. Yeah. Challenge?
I mean, if you're not doing these things, you know, I know we didn't give you a list of things to do, but if you're not modeling Christ for your kids, if you're not, you said provider versus present. I mean, it's all providing.
That's true.
It's just everyone's like, oh, I have to just provide monetarily, but you also have to provide everything else.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so that's what we're called to do. And if you're not doing that, you need to start doing that. But you can't blame your childhood. Like, you can't even blame your circumstances, right? Like I didn't do those things well early in our marriage with our kids, for sure. And I'm still learning. It's just that I've laid it all at God's hands, where I'm like, okay, I'm responsible for you gave me, and I need to carry this weight and do it well.
Yeah. I think definitely if you're a father who's listening and you have, you're not praying over your kids, or you're not going to church, I think those statistics are humbling. And to think about the future that you want your kids to have, like, make church a priority. Yeah. Show them what it is to worship. Show them what it is to be in God's word. Show them what it is to pray. I think that's a huge deal. All right. We'll see you next week.